Have you ever had a friend convince you to do something stupid that you know is a bad idea? Yeah, that's Patrick in this episode, inviting SpongeBob to go up high, only to become hooked. Yeah, I don't think we need to be the Scooby-Doo mystery gang to discover this is a pretty spot-on metaphor for addiction. First, we see a pretty realistic 4K ultra graphics group of fishermen, and how they are causing an effect on the sea. It all looks like a normal day at the Krusty Krab. SpongeBob is doing some cleaning until Mr. Krabs bursts in, shouting that they are back, they return on the fisher hooks. But the only thing he gets is a mint, because no one cares, and yeah, he probably smells like hell. His warnings only seem to be signs of early dementia for everyone, except for SpongeBob, who asks him what's going on. Then Mr. Krabs tells him to beware of the hooks, and how they attract you with their pleasing colors, and just when you think you found the land of milk and honey, they got you up so high until you run out of breath, and then they eat you, or worse, sold at a gift shop. This whole thing sounds as bad as what felt this client who's chilling at his favorite restaurant when the owner tries to explain why drugs are bad to his cook by giving him the biggest life-changing ass-splitting wedgie out of nowhere.
Grab you by the britches and haul you way up high, then higher and higher and higher.
Obviously, this is a very intense explanation that scares really bad Bob. But the greedy old man uses this fear to convince him that the only way to stay safe is to work without breaks. Back at work, Patrick shows up excited since according to him, the carnival has arrived at Bikini Bottom. So being that unemployed friend, Patrick tells him let's go. Bob hesitates, telling he can't, he's at work. But Patrick is just like, come on bro, you're not leaving, you're taking a break, which convinces the naive kid. So off they go and Patrick seems really excited about it. However, when they get there, they find something quite strange. There are no people here, even though there was a kid earlier, showing only some shoes left at the carnival. And the carnival doesn't look like any carnival he ever been to. What they don't know is that these aren't games, but rather lures disguised as the most colorful, powerful attractions. Then Bob bumps into one of them that has no bait, and in that instant he remembers Mr. Krabs' warnings, and his fear comes back. So Bob quickly tries to stop Patrick and save him, but actually the hook should be the one saved, since he starts doing weird shit with them, like introducing them his rear end.
I sense no danger here.
Patrick says that how could they be dangerous if they're being covered with free cheese? Bob doesn't know how to counter-argue that, and all he knows is Mr. Krabs told him not to do so. He knows the consequences, but doesn't know exactly why they are bad. Either way, his mentally challenged friend doesn't listen to him and licks the entirety of the cheese as he rubs the hook on the back of his throat before he pulls it out. Patrick tells Bob to go on, try it. The hook Patrick ate the cheese from is pulled up after he lets it go, and all of this leaves Bob pretty confused. And it doesn't help that Patrick has 9 hooks in his mouth, 1 on his hand, and who knows how many more in some other hole. Patrick gets tired of Bob's paranoid attitude the same way someone lies to you about drugs being not that bad, you know, applying some peer pressure. However, at that moment the hook suddenly rises and pulls Patrick to the surface. Bob, horrified and in a state of panic, screams for help. He thinks it was over for Patrick and he's doomed. But the big girl just floats down, laughing without a worry in the world, like there was no collateral damage. Bob is relieved his best friend is alive, and Patrick tells Bob that he should try this experience because it is amazing. But SpongeBob is now even more confused, questioning how everything that Mr. Krabs warned him about didn't happen to Patrick. He wasn't elevated to the surface, he wasn't cooked and eaten, neither sold at a gift shop. Apparently hooks are just fun, and the old man was just exaggerating, since it's just a matter of letting go before getting too high. Bob still tries to stay firm in his decision, but since he doesn't really understand how hooks work, Mr. Krabs only warned him about the danger of them, dangers that doesn't seem to be real, or at least that true for him, because he just saw Patrick avoid them, so what Mr. Krabs says doesn't really hold up in his mind, or at least now those warnings are not strong enough to avoid him feeling conflicted about hooks. So in absence of answers, Patrick, being the good trustworthy influence he is, jumps on top of a hook and says that Mr. Krabs told him to stay away from them, but never say anything about riding like a horse. Bob has no arguments against that logic, and he's convinced to jump on top of the thing where they get high. From the start, the hooks are portrayed almost exactly like an addictive drug. Mr. Krabs gives this intense, almost parental warning: don't touch the hooks, boy, they're dangerous. His stone mirrors of someone warning a kid about drugs, alcohol, or you know, the hard stuff like Overwatch or anime, the type of stuff that could destroy your life and keep you a virgin mobile. And just like in the real world, that warning only makes SpongeBob more curious. And more often than not, sometimes us humans are dragged into what's forbidden. Mr. Krabs is like those Karens that are easily shocked, extreme with the explications, that might seem exaggerated, and don't dare to face a real problem like addictions. They just say don't touch that, instead of explaining what makes addiction so lethal, and understanding how a person can get to that point, without saying it is bad, period. That will confuse your kids when they find out actually how fun is driving drunk.
It ain't my fault he ran right in front of my truck.
The hooks themselves are designed like a temptation trap. Colorful bait, shiny metal, swinging in the water, just waiting to lure someone in. They even have a high attached to them, the thrill of riding one up to the surface and back down laughing and giggling as if they were experiencing some rush of euphoria. That reference is not subtle. Patrick becomes the episode's bad influence. He's the friend who not only experiments but drags you into it. His whole come on, just try it, it's fun, don't be a chicken. Basically peer pressure. We can use then have some fun and then stop when it's enough, right? When SpongeBob hesitates, Patrick mocks him for being a pussy, making him feel uncool for not joining in. In real life, that's exactly how a lot of people get pushed into dangerous habits or stupid things. But it's obvious the environment is only one factor and not the whole picture. At the end of the day, you are the one who makes the stupid decisions. No one else can ruin your life but yourself. Take responsibility for your actions and have the character to know when to say no. As the boys get high, we see real footage of the fishermen trying to pull the hook up, which honestly is hilarious. Bob and Patrick clearly enjoy the adrenaline rush of the ascent, laughing with excitement, so much so that SpongeBob even says that's more fun than over time at the Krusty Krab. I think that was one of his favorite things ever. Meanwhile, someone who's not having a great time is Squidward. Everyone is pretty mad at him for his zero cooking skills, since his fried boots are too burnt. The crowd is mad and probably intoxicated, so Mr. Krabs, hearing the commotion, appears and asks what the hell is going on. So Squidward says SpongeBob is not back from his break, to which Mr. Krabs, laughing, says that no one has taken a break at the Krusty Krab since the Sean famine of '59. Squidward, kinda upset, repeats to the old man that yes, he did take a break. Mr. Krabs gets angry and immediately runs off, yelling that he will get his lazy ass, while leaving Squidward dealing with the angry crowd alone. Mr. Krabs suspects he went to the supposed carnival, which he was right. When he reaches the place, he finds them there riding on the hooks. Before they can get high once more, Mr. Krabs yells at them not to go, but they don't hear them, and laments not having arrived sooner. But when all seems lost, he sees them coming down without a worry in the world, clearly having a blast. Mr. Krabs yells at them, however Patrick says they just ride him up, and then gently float down without a problem. What could possibly go wrong? Just look at his face, he seems like the kind of guy who knows what he's talking about. The old man confronts him, asking if he knows what might happen if one day they don't manage to get off the hook. Do they know the consequences? Bob says gift shops, but Mr. Krabs directly tells him no. Something far worse. Being canned like tuna with the smell of mayonnaise. Truly a terrifying fate, worse than death.
Nothing to look forward to but the smell of mayonnaise!
Bob and Patrick are shocked, and Mr. Krabs makes them promise not to go on those hooks again, which they do in the most senile sailor way possible, since a hook punctures his poop deck. Damn, they really are aggressors. The next day, Bob is ready to prove himself loyal to Mr. Krabs and heads to work. However, the unemployed friend attacks again, saying he's going to the wrong way, and tells SpongeBob that no, he's not going to work today, but rather they should play with the hooks again, since who needs responsibilities anyway? Bob says they made a promise. Pat says he had his fingers crossed. He doesn't have fingers. He also mocks the old man, saying that he's a big boring dummy. They play for hours and nothing happened to them. He kinda gets upset again using that peer pressure, asking him who he'd rather listen to, a boar like Mr. Krabs or him. Without letting him answer, he runs back to the hooks, saying he'll have some fun and tells him he knows he wants to. Bob remains silent, shaking, fighting himself, but tries to hold on to his word. He turns around saying that he won't be deceived, but then a hook crosses in front of him. He ignores it, but only for a few seconds, since in the end he ends up giving in, saying it will just be one time. He comes back, but something changed, a disastrous result. SpongeBob getting literally hooked. The metaphor gets even darker when you think about the real world dangers of hooks. Once you get caught, just like how drug addiction can pull you out of your life and take you somewhere you might never come back from. The hooks literally drag fish out of the ocean, away from their world, their family, everything they know. Bob used to find fun going over time at the Krusty Krab, but as he said, this is more fun than that. So much so that as soon as the two idiots wake wake up, that's the first thing they end up doing. And since we all know the cure of one addiction is a bigger addiction, the solution is now that Bob tries some fent. I'm sure after that he will never go near those hooks. I like how this episode shows how stupid it is to say, I can quit whenever I want, it's fine, I can control it. But in reality, the more you put it off, the deeper you'll sink, until there comes a moment where, like Bob, you say, now I'll let it go. However, you will notice that you can't anymore. You're actually hooked. Bob runs desperately towards the Krusty Krab, where Mr. Krabs is serving free water to his daughter and her friends, while also asking for tips. Wow, he's so stingy, man. SpongeBob, feeling guilty and embarrassed, tries to call him from a corner, but every time the hook pulls him, he starts admitting what he did. While crying, he admits he's so ashamed. Mr. Krabs listens calmly, without any surprise. There's no concern on his face, only disappointment. There's only one thing to do, and he understands that the only way to free himself is to take off his clothes in front of everyone, including his underwear. He can't imagine anything more embarrassing, but as the hook pulls him upwards harder and harder, he realizes he has no choice. The only thing Mr. Krabs can do is hire a new cook if he can't do that. He has left his entire life because of hooks. Bob finally accepts this and unhooks himself, being laughed at since his noble parts are shown to all the shorties in town. Mr. Krabs inviting his daughter and her friends over to the Krusty Krab, despite knowing that they see SpongeBob naked, is supposed to represent an intervention. Addicts often experience a sense of shame, guilt, and embarrassment during the early stages of intervention, when their entire family see them in a terrible state, represented by SpongeBob being forced to strip naked in order to survive. Clothes are something that people use to cover up parts of themselves that they don't want others to see, and the same goes for drugs. When someone gets sober, all the emotions, flaws, embarrassing traits they try to hide come to the surface, thus making their personality nude. The episode ends with Patrick himself being a tuna can, or the idea of him dying for not listening to what he was told. Maybe showing the tuna can being a coffin or something like that. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it, and here's another SpongeBob video that I'm sure you will love too. Thanks for watching.